Our next step is to get rid of some unwanted print statements. You'll want to remove the print statement in our debugging area, and then the two print statements that I used to explain what was happening when we set up our infinite mode. Inside the while loop, before we get the user to choose, we can set up our headings. Here's some starter code. Can you complete the code needed to show the headings for the rounds? So the code on your screen is something that I see a lot, and it will mostly work. In fact, if we run it and I go for infinite mode, it's a little odd because it starts at round 0, but it is increasing, and as you can see, the exit code works. If we want it to actually show round 1 instead of round 0, we need to add 1 to our display. Note that when you're adding 1 in a curly bracket, it doesn't actually change the number of rounds that have been played, it just changes how it displays. In this case, we can see that it worked, and in fact, I followed my test plan, and I can show that it works correctly for infinite mode. If I rerun and I say I want 3 rounds, it's going to go for 3 rounds before it exits, and the third part of my test plan said to again go for 3 rounds, but to use the emergency exit so that we only in fact play 2 rounds. I've added in some brief additional comments, and as I've got a perfectly working rounds component, which is recyclable, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit F5, and my file name is R, which in my world stands for recyclable, and 00 rounds, and I'm going to keep this piece of code super safe because I know that I can use it as is as a starting point for future projects. Then I'm going to close that piece of code and continue developing our rounds game. The next thing that we want to do is we're wanting to get the user choice. The first step in doing that is to go up to where we initialize our variables, and I'm going to set up a list that includes rock, paper, scissors, and our exit code. Then I need to retrieve the string checker from our string checker component, and I can copy it, go to the top of my game component, paste the string checker component in, complete with the comment. While I'm here, I can go into my instructions component. I can copy the instructions function, paste it underneath my string checker. Then underneath the heading where I've got a comment saying instructions, I can replace it with the code that we actually need for our instructions, including that very useful comment. So I can get rid of that placeholder comment, put in my instructions, then I can scroll down to our user choice area and replace the input statement with a call to the string checker function. And I do need to include the RPS list as that second parameter. We can put in a print statement to show that this worked. And now, as you can see, we've got our main game heading. It lets us choose if we want to see the instructions, and if we say M for maybe, it asks the question again. I said no this time round, chose infinite mode, and when I'm choosing rock, paper, or scissors, it is working correctly. And if I go for infinite mode and choose XXX, it exits. We can double check that this is working well by saying yes to see the instructions, and it shows them in all their glory. If I go for 3 rounds and I say hello, it's going to complain and recommend that I choose rock, paper, scissors, or XXX. And this is now working really well. In the next video, we're going to set things up so that the computer randomly chooses, and we're also going to compare the user choice and the computer choice to find out who's won the given round.